Chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Kentucky Congressman James Comer. Congressman, great to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us and with this breaking news as we watch it all unfold. What do you hope comes from this very high stakes meeting that is set to take place?
Well, I would love to see a bilateral trade agreement with China. When you look at China, historically, they've not been a good trading partner. They steal our intellectual property, they steal our patents, they manipulate the currency to give them an advantage in the export market. So President Trump has come along and he's put very high tariffs on China. So China knows that President Trump means business, that he's not a pushover like the last president was. So he's coming in here with a lot of leverage. The tariffs have honestly inflicted pain on both countries. So the way to get this resolved is to have a free and fair trade agreement. But China's going to really have to change the way they do business, and that's going to be a tall task. But if anybody can do it in America, President Trump can do it.
Mr. Chairman, I know that the president said just yesterday that he considers President Xi Jinping a friend. Do you think that's helpful in a situation like this? Obviously, we know that the president is one tough negotiator, but he said that they are very friendly at this time.
Yeah, well, I don't think insulting him before he goes over there to try to negotiate a trade deal would be a good move. So the president is the author of the art of the deal, so he knows what he needs to negotiate. But at the end of the day, this is very important. I represent a huge agricultural state. When you talk about markets like soybeans, China is the #1 market.
Right.
So in order to balance out the agricultural crisis we have with respect to commodity prices, I think a deal with China is very important to Boeing Airlines, very important, as you mentioned earlier, in the technology area with NVIDIA and other American tech stocks. So I think the president's got a full plate ahead of him, but I think he knows the goal. And if we can get this resolved, I think you're going to see, this affordability issue start to be resolved. I think you're going to see inflation go down. I think you're going to see markets go up. And we can still have an America First policy. We've got to focus in America on manufacturing things that are of the utmost importance to our national security, things like pharmaceuticals and technology and anything agricultural related should be produced in the United States. But China can also be a good trading partner. They haven't been historically because of the reasons I cited earlier, the way they cheat, the way they don't abide by environmental rules and standards. So if the president can negotiate all this, I think everybody's going to come out a winner.
So, Congressman, I want to talk about AI for a second here. Obviously, a lot of Scott Bessent, CEOs abound going to this meeting. Now, there's a bit of a kind of an AI race, some people have said, between the U.S. and China. Do you think that is going to be a heavy topic of discussion over there?
I have no doubt that'll be a heavy topic, and it is a race, and whoever emerges victorious in that is going to have a huge advantage moving forward. I mean, this is something we're talking about over the next 3 or 4 decades. Right now, the United States, I believe, is ahead. But we always have to watch our back with China. They have unlimited resources. They can do things that we would never think of in the United States with respect to cheating and stealing research and development and intellectual property and things like that. So another issue that I think the President's going to talk about that's very important in America is fentanyl. And China continues to produce fentanyl that poisons our young people in America. So there are a lot of things China's doing wrong. But the president sent a message over the first year and a half of his second administration. We're not going to tolerate this. We're going to put tariffs on you. And I think if the president leaves China without negotiating any substantive trade deal, I could see President Trump slapping on even more tariffs to China. So China knows President Trump means business, and I think a lot's at stake here, and hopefully this will be a successful trade mission for the president.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.